Welcome into this solo edition of Hand Raise Guys, presented by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. I'm Neil McCready here on this Thursday night, evening, late afternoon, I should say, July 17th. Hope everyone's having a great week. We will we'll take some calls today. I asked for questions for a mailbag edition of this show. I didn't want to put it on the site that I technically work for right now because the charade's up. It's the mailbag will come back in print form, I guess, first week of August. So it'll be at 24/7 Sports when it comes back. My shoe is untied. I don't even know what that means. Could be. It's possible. I don't know. Anyway, mailbag coming to you. So kind of a little bit of a mailbag edition today. Also take calls on the Campbell Clinic hotline if you have any questions. Talk about a few things. The length of this show sort of up to you guys, as you know. Yeah, it's either short because you guys don't feel like calling in, or it's a little longer because you have things you like to talk about. SEC Media Days wrapped up today in Atlanta, Missouri. Eli Drinkwitz had some things to say, which I thought were interesting. Sam Pittman, Arkansas, Mike Elko, Texas A&M. I can't remember who the fourth team was. I think this first year I haven't covered SEC Media Days in probably a quarter century. And so I didn't look. I actually looked down to see if my shoes were tied, and they were. Shoes were tied. I've been doing a lot of walking and running lately, so shoes being tied is important. Speaking of important, it's important to tell you who is making these shows possible. Today's show, always brought to you by our friends at Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Listen, it's really hot today. My son Carson's in Finland right now, and so I've seen some pictures of them in Finland, and it looks much cooler, much more pleasant than it is here today, where it's, I think, 96 degrees, heat index of 110. There's a heat advisory until 9 p.m. this evening in Oxford. I'm sure it's like that in most places in the South, wherever you're watching, taking the show in. But in the event that you live in North Mississippi, the Memphis area, and your AC is acting funny, don't risk it. Get in touch with our friends at Comer and Southern. Same great products, same people, same services, just different names. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer, 662-801-1777. If you live in Memphis, South Haven, Hernando, Olive Branch, those areas, call Southern, 662-429-4429. Guest join on the Campbell Clinic hotline, from fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions. The pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit CampbellClinicOxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111. I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call that number. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done several times now, what I think you should do, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. You'll love the product. You'll love the services. Corey and the people at Clark Ford really want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. Find out what that means when you make the call. 662-257-1900. And, of course, this will be technically the Friday version of Blue Sky Live. Blue Sky locations all over Mississippi. If you're traveling this weekend, still a couple of weeks left in, I guess, summer vacation before everybody gets started back to school and things of that nature. If your kids are school age, the summer's winding down, but you still have time to take that trip. So if you're doing that, heading out of the state or moving around in the state, see a Blue Sky, stop there. You'll be glad you did. You can fill up your vehicle outside, always clean, always reliable. And then, of course, you can head inside any Blue Sky. Again, it's going to be clean and orderly. The people are going to be nice. You're going to have great selection of plate lunches. You can get ribs, barbecuing this weekend, you don't feel like firing up the barbecue in this heat, but you want to enjoy barbecue, you can get dry or wet at Blue Sky in Oxford, of course, and at other locations. Great beer selection and so much more at Blue Sky throughout Oxford, throughout Mississippi, I should say, including Oxford. I was trying to read some of your questions at the same time, and I'm not talented enough to read and talk at the same time, apparently. The deep dive on the whole Spencer Sanders story, Benection. That's a great question. I think I've told this story before. The year Spencer was here, so that would have been 2023. Is that right? Yeah. There was an NIL broadcast kind of company that had cut an NIL deal with Spencer the year before at Oklahoma State. And something happened where it fell through. He was supposed to do a live podcast appearance. And it fell through. And they reached out to me, hey, would you be interested in having Spencer Sanders on the week of the Egg Bowl? And like an idiot, my initial reaction was, yeah, because I was thinking, well, I'd love to get Spencer on and ask a lot of questions about what happened. What's this been like? What were you, if anything, what were you promised? What were you told? What has been the level of communication over the course of this season? Those kind of things. And so I said, yeah, I'll do it. And so as we got closer to it, obviously Spencer wasn't playing at all. Jackson Dart got hurt some in that Georgia game. Spencer came in and played some in that game. But it was clear Spencer, unless Jackson got hurt in the Egg Bowl, wasn't going to play in that Egg Bowl. And so I told the people, I'm like, look, I'll do this, but I'm not asking him like a bunch of softball questions. And they said, well, what are you going to ask? And I told him, look, I'm going to talk to him about what happened in the recruiting process. Why is he here? What's it been like? Does he regret it? Is he glad that he came? What's his relation like with Kiffin? All that stuff. And these people lost their minds. Like, oh, you can't ask him that. And I said, look, if you're wanting a softball interview, you've got the wrong guy. I'm not going to do it. That's not my calling card. That's not who I am. That's not what people subscribe to our site for. It's not what people watch our podcast for. Our reputation is not, soft, program friendly coddlers, if you will. That's not us. And I said, we do it one time and that's what we're going to be known for. And I'm not willing to do that. And I mean, we fought about it. I shouldn't say fought. We argued about it for the better part of 3 days. And finally on that Tuesday, I guess, of Egg Bowl week, we killed it. I said, I'm not doing it. And they said, well, he can't answer those questions. And I said, well, then there's nothing for us to talk about. And that was the last I ever heard from Spencer Sanders. We never had the opportunity to get those answers. And I don't really know that we ever will. I think Lane Kiffin brought him in to light a fire under Jackson Dart. Turns out that you didn't need to light a fire under Jackson Dart. It was already lit. But that did turn the heat up on that fire, and you guys know the rest of that story. But it's interesting how all of that sort of went down. Kyle, thank you for the super chat. If you use laundry detergent pods, how many do you use per load? Well, it depends on. I'm a laundry guy. I do the majority of the laundry in our house. I just literally between shows folded a load of laundry and started a load of laundry. I'm a self-proclaimed laundry stud. I keep up with laundry. When we had a house full of kids, I was the one that maintained the laundry. So to answer your question, if it's a heavy load that has a lot of dirty stuff, sweaty stuff, I'm going two pods, because one pod doesn't sufficiently clean the clothes. I will say that I'm not a big laundry pod person, though. I prefer the liquid detergent where you can measure how much you put in, and then you can add a commensurate amount of detergent for how dirty you think the laundry is, how much laundry is in there. And further, and here's your tip, if you overload your washing machine, the clothes just don't come as clean as they do if you are more patient and you divide that big load of laundry into 2 smaller loads. I think you end up using less detergent and you get a more clean load of laundry. There you go. I didn't think we'd talk about that today, but we're talking laundry because it's July the 17th and people try to force football content when it's a little early for football content. Maybe not too early. We're getting there. Camps are about to get started in the NFL. I think Ole Miss is, I would guess, 13 days from the start of camp. Maybe 12, maybe 14, but we're 2 weeks, T-minus 2 weeks, maybe a little less before get rolling with the 2025 season for real. So, but yeah, we can talk about cleaning. I bet they use a lot of detergent in preseason camp at Ole Miss. I bet they use a ton. Chris Laundry. I actually thought about Chris Landry today for some reason. It popped up in my head, and I started laughing about it. That was a hell of a show. And I mean that and not in a good way. It was not a good show. All right, I asked for questions on X the other day, formerly known as Twitter. Taylor Caldwell says, I'll throw you a soft football question since I dropped foreign policy on you. What would you say are the chances of Austin Simmons being a one-and-done starter? Obviously, we'll know more in 6 months, but just what you've seen, does he have that from just what you've seen, does he have that ability? Yeah, he has the ability to be one and done. He has the ability to go have a monster season, display his talents, and go pro early. Yeah, for sure. Do I think that's likely? I don't. He's going to be a first-year starter at this level. The odds are overwhelming that there's going to be an adjustment period. The odds are overwhelming that there's going to be a bit of a wall that he hits. The odds are overwhelming that he is going to make first-year starter mistakes. He's young. The odds, in my opinion, are overwhelming that he will want to play a second season as a starter of college football. And that will likely be the season if he is as good as he thinks he is, as a lot of pro people think he is. A.J. McCarron was on my show with Tyler Syski, McCready and Syski on Monday, and A.J. was talking about his arm talent's elite. He's a great athlete. You've seen that. He's a smart kid. Brian Rippey had a huge story this week at 24/7 Sports about him, about his dad, David. There's a lot there. My guess is that he won't be coming out after one season. That just feels like meteoric of a meteoric raise in terms of where he goes. That feels over too much. 2 years? Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, this is my take on Ole Miss a little bit, sort of corresponds with that. There's a lot of people that are talking about 10 wins and more this year. I think that's awfully ambitious given how young this team's going to be in spots. I think the odds are more likely, it's just my opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I believe in being honest. I think it's more likely that this team gets close but no cigar and sets up a real special season in 2026. My opinion. Again, we'll see. They're going to play the games. You know my spiel. That first game they're going to start, it's going to be 0-0. They're going to put 15 minutes on the clock. They're going to play 4 quarters. We're going to get stats, the whole shooting match. I mean, at some point, we'll find out how good this team is, how good Austin Simmons is, how ready Austin Simmons is, where this team's weak, where this team's not weak. But I wouldn't be surprised if 2025 was a setup for 2026. There's a lot of talent on this team, but there's a lot of inexperienced talent on this team. And it's been my experience covering the league for basically a quarter century that experience matters. That experience is often the difference between making it and almost making it. Last year, Ole Miss sort of bucked that trend because, frankly, Ole Miss was a very experienced team, and they should have made the playoff. They had some critical injuries in key spots. I think just losing Henry Parrish Jr. in that Arkansas game ended up being a major blow for them. They weren't as good up front on offense as they probably needed to be. They almost overcame it. I thought the injury to Trey Harris in the Florida game was just an absolute dagger. But this is a talented team, but it's a super young team, and you go from a third-year, super experienced quarterback who ended up going in the first round of the NFL draft to a player that's played one significant drive as a collegiate player, and that's asking for a lot. Matthew says, was this summer between sites more hectic or more enjoyable for my personal life? Both. It's hectic. It wasn't hectic. It was weird. It was in March when I agreed to go to 24/7. It was very calm. It was security. It was the end of. I'm going to write a lot about this here soon, but it was the end of a long decision-making process that started probably a year earlier. I've always been really transparent about the fact that in May of 2025, 2 months ago, that our youngest child was going to graduate from high school, and that was going to create a potential off-ramp to do something different. I had made the decision very privately. Only Chase knew this. Well, Chase and my wife, and that's about it. Knew that staying at Rivals was something I decided I was not going to do. Period. I didn't like the direction. It reminded me of the end of my tenure in Mobile when I thought things were going downhill and that it was time for change. And at that time, the kids were little. Campbell was our oldest. She was getting ready to go into the second grade. So I knew it was a great time in our lives if we were going to make a move. Campbell was going into the second grade. Caroline was going into kindergarten, and Carson was just a baby. He was 1. If there was a time to move, that was a good time, and we did it. We moved to Oxford, not knowing how long we'd be here, but I knew that was a good time, and it turned out I was right. It was absolutely the right time in our lives to make that move, and I knew that May of 2025, our lives were going to be different because we wouldn't. We're going into this will be the first year in Oxford, the first school year that we don't have a kid in school. We're not on the Oxford School District calendar for the first time in 17, 18 years, whatever that is. So I knew that was an opportunity, and I explored some things. I was approached about a couple of things. So when I made the decision to go to 24/7 in March, when I finalized it, it was very calming. I knew I'd done the right thing. It felt good. It felt great. We were keeping it quiet. We had a transition plan in place, and then the merger happened. I didn't know about the merger. I'd heard rumors that Shannon Terry was going to buy Rivals, but we'd heard that rumor for years. And so he'd kind of gotten a little noseblind to the rumor, if that makes sense. He just didn't pay a lot of attention to it. And then it happened. And when it happened, things got a little chaotic because obviously there was a pretty rushed transition, and they were trying to figure out what was going on with us. And we had already signed contracts. And so at that point, and I'll write about this, there were some things that happened. Shannon offered me a window to get out earlier. Things take time at the corporate level. That didn't move as quickly as maybe everyone wanted it to move. And so I was going to stay at On3 through the end of my contract at the end of October. And then something happened that made staying pretty untenable. And again, credit to Shannon Terry and the people there. We got it done. So no, it hasn't really been hectic. And for my personal life, it's been fine. I haven't had to work as much because they don't really want me working. I mean, obviously it was weird. So, and I've done a pretty good job this summer of disconnecting when it was time to disconnect. So that's been good for me. Kyle says, "Do you ever get nervous before a football season starts?" No, I do not get nervous. I'm the only time, Kyle, that I ever feel like any nervousness or something is if I have a summer where I don't give myself a little bit of a time to unplug and I don't feel like I refilled the batteries. I get nervous that I'm going to burn out fast. This year is completely. This summer's been great for me. My battery is really full. I'm excited to get back to work, to get after it, to bring coverage to everybody, and learned a couple of lessons from last fall that I'll act on this fall. I stretched myself too thin podcasting wise. Last year I did one too many podcasts. That MPW Digital Extra show was a lot of work. It was a good show, I thought, but it was a lot of work. It got good numbers, but we ended up running it on Thursday along with everything else that we did, and it wasn't realistic to expect our listeners to have the time to listen to all of that content that we had on Thursday. If you think about it, we tape with Jeffrey in the morning, Jeffrey Wright. Then a lot of times we have Mind on My Money. We tape that on Thursday because that works for Martin's schedule, works for my schedule. McCready and Siski airs on Thursday. We have Hand Raised Guys on Thursday. We've got we released The Butcher versus the Dance Instructor on Thursday, and we released Pete's Pigskin Preview on Thursday. So you have from Thursday till whatever time kickoff is on Saturday, so as early as 11 a.m., as late as 6:45. To expect people to consume all of that is unrealistic. And so you add in a 2.5 hour show like MPW Digital Extra, and we just didn't see that people watched it. I don't know how many people on Thursday midday are going to sit and watch me talk to people. It's not a live stream. People much prefer live streams to watching shows. So unless the show has something like what Pete does where you have some interaction. So we've eliminated that show. That's going to free up some time for me to answer your question. So I guess, no, I'm not nervous. I'm pretty excited about this season. And we're going to have more help. Tyler Comas is with us. I really like Tyler. I think he does good work. Young reporter that covered Ole Miss, I guess, for a couple of years now. He's going to be with us. So we're going to have a little more staff, a little more flexibility. So I guess to answer your question, I'm not nervous. I'm pretty excited. Are you upset or flattered that On3 kept the name Rebel Grove? I'm going to write about that some. But to answer your question, I mean, it's validating. I mean, it tells you that we were absolutely the market leader and that we had built a brand that resonated with people. Chase and I are really different people. We approach the job differently sometimes, but we have a really good synergy. I think we work really well together. I think we have a lot of respect for each other. We're good friends. I think our writing complements one another. I think our probably message board styles have grown to mesh pretty well. But I was surprised to be completely transparent, Grind. I was surprised that a site that was synonymous with, the Ole Miss Spirit and Chuck's was credit where credit's due. He was the only non-mainstream voice covering Ole Miss athletics for a long time, going way back. And so, they had that name. I was surprised they went away from that. if they were going to go away from that, I would have guessed that he was going to retire, not semi-retire, whatever that means, because he immediately said on their site that he wasn't going anywhere. He was still going to be, at press conferences. He was still going to be at practice. He was still going to be writing. He was still going to be on the board. Well, how's that different than what you're already doing? I don't mean that critically. So given that, I was surprised that they went away from that name. I can't imagine that he is going to ever identify himself as rebelgrove.com, a site that they were very critical of for a long time. And suddenly they're adopting that site as their identity, kind of hook, line, and sinker. It feels like it's going to be clunky for them. Maybe I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, I was surprised by it. But it was validating for sure. I mean, I'm not saying that to like start site wars any more than we've already started them. They've been going for a long time. Yeah, I was absolutely surprised by it. But, and caller, I'll get right to you. Hang tight. I think they're making. Hold on, caller. I'll be right to you. I think they're making a mistake. But Shannon's been doing this a long time. He's had a tremendous amount of success at Rivals, at 24/7, at On3. So, I mean, maybe it ends up really working well, and maybe it's. I have to think it's confusing to some of their longtime subscribers to suddenly be a completely different brand with a message board that's moderated in a completely different way. I would think that's going to be an awkward transition for them, more awkward than it's going to be for us taking everything that we do and just putting a different name on it. Hey, caller, go ahead.
Hey, Neil, long-time listener, love shows.
Thank you.
Honestly, just wondering, how would you start if you had to start over here in 2025? What would you do to get into media of some sort like this, like what you're doing here with MPW?
Like, you mean as a younger person?
Yeah. I'm in my late 20s.
Yeah, I don't know that this is what I would have done. If I think, yeah, no, I wouldn't have. I don't think the environment's great for it. It's a really difficult job market, especially if you're trying to make money, especially if you want to be able to have any sort of a lifestyle or support a family. This is a hard field to get into. And I don't know that I'm qualified to answer it, to be honest. I'm a bit of a dinosaur / unicorn in this thing. Most of the people that are I started in media in 1994, and I've covered, I grew up in an era, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong. It just is what it is. I grew up in an era when you really had to pay your bills, pay your dues, and there was upward mobility. I mean, I've talked about this before. Like, I caught a couple of big breaks, but I also made my own breaks. I mean, I worked really, really hard in my 20s. We got to Birmingham, and I worked at a weekly newspaper that was part of the Boone newspaper chain, and it was called the Shelby County Reporter. And man, they worked you constantly. I mean, you just worked all the time. And I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be a lifer in the weekly deal. I hated that. But I knew it was good clips. I knew it was good exposure. And I got lucky a little bit. And I pursued this, and it worked out. The Birmingham Post-Herald at the time was an afternoon newspaper in Birmingham. It was 5 afternoons a week, and then they had the Saturday morning paper. They worked in the same building with the Birmingham News. Birmingham News was a Newhouse paper. The Birmingham Post-Herald was a Scripps Howard paper. And Reuben Grant, who just passed away fairly recently, wonderful guy. one of the nicest people I ever met in journalism. Ruben he had 2 jobs at the Post-Herald. He covered the Birmingham Barons, and he did preps, high schools. And I knew he needed help stringing stuff for high school. And I went to him and said, I'll do anything. But I could only work at nights and on weekends. And so he started giving me some assignments, and he sent me out to like places like Moody and Leeds and all these places I'd never been to, out in the what at the time felt like the boondocks of Birmingham. And I'd go cover games, and I'd get an assignment, I'd get a deadline, and I just did it. I think I got paid like $25 a game. It was nothing. But he started giving me over time. Laura and I lived, when we first got married, we lived in Irondale. And I can't remember the name of the stadium, but there was a kind of a municipal stadium out there where a lot of the Birmingham public schools, like Jackson Olin and some of those kind of schools, would play their games. And so they would play their games on, Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights. And so he started giving me a lot of the games out at that stadium. I can't remember the name of the stadium. Maybe Grind or someone from Alabama can help me with this. But I would go to that. I'd cover that game on Friday night, on Thursday night. And then on Friday night, he would send me out someplace. And I noticed over the course of a few weeks that I went from getting sent out to like Leeds or Moody or Clay Chalkville or something to I was getting to cover Homewood. I was covering Mountain Brook. I was covering Vestavia Hills. I was getting better, more read assignments on Friday nights, and then I'd run back to the paper in downtown Birmingham. I'd write everything, get it written, and then he started giving me some other stuff. I'd cover wrestling, basketball, volleyball. I mean, all sorts of crap. And then he started giving me some feature assignments, like for the next season, some previews and stuff. Like I'd write a preview about Mountain Brook or Homewood or those kinds of schools, Pelham, Hoover. And over time, he grew to really like me. And when there was an opening that happened in news at the Post-Herald, Ruben put in a word with those people and said, you ought to hire this kid. He really works hard. He's a good writer. He does every assignment. And they were pretty damn skeptical, to be honest. But they gave me a chance, and the rest just kind of took off. So, I mean, I got really fortunate that I met people who looked out for me and who liked me. And then when I got to the Birmingham Post-Herald, like there were some veteran reporters that were there, Steve Joyce and Steve Bell and John Stade and some people like that, hard news guys. I mean, old school news guys, people who had, covered Alabama politics and news for three decades. And they were all super to me. Like on Fridays at lunch, we'd go to lunch at this place. I can't remember what it was, but we'd go there and I would just listen. And they would tell all sorts of stories about their careers. And I just learned a lot from all those guys. And then when the opportunity came to cover Auburn, I jumped at it, and they hired me, and that's been my career ever since. But I don't know that today getting in, the problem that a lot of young people have right now in journalism is they all want to get in and they want to cover their favorite college football team. And that's just hard.
Yeah.
That's just hard to do. You've got to be, if you're really serious about getting into it, you got to be willing to go wherever there's a job and just go work your ass off, and then try to network and be upwardly mobile. And then you've got to, in today's age, you've got to be able to be comfortable on camera. You've got to be able to be comfortable behind a microphone, and you have to be able to write. So you just got to be really serious with yourself about whether you have that skill set or not.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, say I wanted to pursue it as a hobby. You think maybe starting local and trying to build something that way, kind of like
I mean,
I understand it's obviously different.
Yeah, go to people that that have media outlets of any sort, and work. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is nothing happens. I mean, that's, yeah, you have to do something. You have to be noticed and hope that you catch a break, I suppose.
All righty. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Love the shows.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Good luck. Thank you, Grind. That was going to drive me crazy. Yes, Lawson Field. I would go to Lawson Field probably every Thursday for 2 years in football season. Covered like Parker. Wish I could remember all the names of these teams. But those games were fun because the coaches were typically pretty colorful figures. They were funny, and they would talk to you. I'd get whatever I'd want. I was like, hey, I'm with the Birmingham Post-Herald, and I'd get whatever I wanted. Truth is, covering high school stuff is so much, in many ways, more fulfilling than a lot of the other stuff that I've done all the way up. Hey, who's this?
This is Matt Jones.
Hey, Matt. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Quick question. So, in your opinion, 2 questions, actually. One being, how do you rank Austin Simmons, like 1 through 16, before the season ever starts?
Okay.
Of quarterbacks in the SEC. And number 2 being, how much of a dilemma is it that he's a lefty where anybody that we have returning at Ole Miss is used to having a righty?
Well, the second part, they've probably already worked through that. They've had a spring. They've had a summer full of workouts. At this point, everybody that's going to play wide receiver or running back or tight end for Ole Miss has caught hundreds of passes off his hand. So that's probably not an issue anymore. That was probably a little bit of an acclimation issue maybe back in the spring, but they've worked through that. Your first part of your question is, to me, it's impossible. I mean, he's very talented. You know that. But he's had one meaningful drive. And, yeah, he made some big-time plays on that drive. He did. But, there's an alternate reality. I think there was a ball early in that drive that sort of got tipped that, let's say that gets picked. Are we still having this conversation? I still think
no, not at all.
Right. So that's my thing. Like I've heard people this week say he should get votes for preseason All SEC, and I think that's ludicrous. I think that's idiotic. Based on what? Now, if you told me that by the end of the year he's getting votes for postseason All SEC, I'll go, okay, cool, because he's going to play. He's going to get an opportunity in a typically high-powered offense. He's going to play for one of the best offensive minds in all of football in Lane Kiffin. I think they have a really good receiver room. I think they have an adequate running back room, and I have questions about up front, but there are people that believe that they're going to be better up front than they were a year ago, especially if some key people stay healthy. But this narrative that, yeah, he should be getting votes for third-team preseason All SEC, I don't know how you would justify that vote. If someone said,
I'm the biggest Ole Miss fan you ever met, and I don't think that. But
yeah,
okay.
Well, and the only people that would do it would be the people who are just Ole Miss fans. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like as a media person, I can't look at that and go, yeah, I think that's where I'd put him on my ballot. You would have to put Nussmeier at LSU in front of him because of what he's done on the field. You would have to put, I think you'd have to put Lenore Sellers at South Carolina, DJ Lagway at Florida, probably John Mateer at Oklahoma because of what he's done at Washington State. I think you'd have to realistically put those guys in front of him on a preseason All SEC team. Where would I rank him? I don't know. I would just give him an incomplete. Like I think he's better than
I'd put him middle of the pack.
Yeah, I think he's better than a lot of the guys that are returning. But we haven't seen – here's what we haven't seen from him yet. It's not his fault, but we haven't seen what does he look like when an SEC defensive coordinator has a week to prepare for him, to game plan for him.
Yeah, right.
What does he look like when they throw things at him that are specifically designed for him? We don't know that yet. What does he look like in an SEC game when he makes a mistake, when he throws a critical turnover, when he throws a pick six, when he misses a read, when he tries to force a throw into coverage and it leads to chaos? How does he respond to adversity? We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, when he has an Arkansas game where he throws 6 picks, how do you respond?
Yeah,
right?
we haven't seen that yet. And so the answer,
kind of like I put in the chat earlier, like I put in the chat earlier, yeah, we had one drive. Oh, you mean he's not a Heisman candidate? What are you talking about? Like, no, come on now.
Yeah, and the thing is, and I wrote about this in the 10 Thoughts edition of my 10 Weekend Thoughts, that the least read edition of 10 Weekend Thoughts ever. He's getting like some conversation in some circles as a fringe Heisman candidate. Man, that is respect for a kid that hasn't started a college game. I mean, there's no disrespect for him. And the truth is, and Chase and I talked about this week, there's no disrespect at all for Ole Miss right now. I mean, Ole Miss, because of this, and they've earned it. And they earned it, like Grind says here, he's exactly right. He says, do you guys know who made SEC preseason second team quarterback in 2015? It was Jeremy Johnson. He said, just let Austin earn it. Absolutely. And like Ole Miss is getting the benefit of the doubt from the lion's share of media this week because they've earned it. They've won 10 or more games 3 of the last 4 years. That is the media going, I don't know who all's replacing all of the people that are gone from Ole Miss, but Lane has shown that he'll figure it out. That's literally what the media is saying. Because I promise you,
100%.
I promise you that the regional media, the people that cover Texas A&M, Florida, LSU, whatever, they can't tell you all the people that Ole Miss brought in. Hell, I can't tell you all the people that Ole Miss brought in. I sure can't tell you all the people that Florida brought in, that LSU brought in, that Texas brought in, that Missouri brought in. It's just impossible. There's too much. There's so much turnover that there's no way anyone can keep up with it. So what you get in these preseason rankings is reputation. Yeah, people are putting Alabama really high. Why? Because Alabama typically finishes really high. Alabama's kind of earned the benefit of the doubt, whether you like it or not. And Ole Miss has begun to earn the benefit of the doubt. Like, I put Ole Miss 5th. And, I mean, I saw someone today put Ole Miss like 11th. And I was like, man, that guy's going to get lit up. But in reality, I can justify 11th. Easy. I don't think they'll finish 11th. I could
justify 3. I could justify 11 or 12 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get them to 3 because there's those teams above them have a lot more returning talent. But I can put them at 5, which puts you right there in the cusp of making the playoff. And I could put them as low as 11 or 12 because that group, I mean, the only teams that I can sit here and say these teams are going to be worse than Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Arkansas, probably Vanderbilt. That's it. The others, like, I don't know, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Auburn, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Florida. I mean, there's a world where
maybe Missouri.
Maybe even Missouri. There's a world where there's not a hell of a lot of difference between those teams. And then even those teams at the bottom, right? I mean, if you told me that Kentucky upset somebody, that Arkansas upset somebody, that Vanderbilt upset somebody, I'm like, yeah, I can see it. I mean, sure. All 3 of those teams have experienced quarterbacks coming back. I mean, Kentucky's got Calzada, who's played in the league before at 2 places. He played at Incarnate Word. Arkansas's got their quarterback back for a second year with Bobby Petrino, and he's a kid that put up huge numbers at Boise State before he went to Arkansas. And Vanderbilt has Diego Pavia. And, I mean, I think you could justify putting Diego Pavia 3rd team preseason All-SEC. He's won. He won games at Vanderbilt last year. So, I don't know.
Well, we had my boss saw a video and he brought it to everybody, all the guys in the office this week, where this guy was ranking Ole Miss's schedule, like wins and losses kind of thing. And the guy had him losing to Oklahoma. And no, he ain't. Well, yeah, that's a definite positive. It could happen.
Sure.
So
I mean,
look at the quarterback, bro.
There are people that think Oklahoma's going to be a playoff contender. I'm not one of those people, but there are people that do, and there are people that are super high on Mateer, and Norman can be a hard place to play. Ask Alabama last year. We'll see. I mean, Ole Miss has that swing in October where they go to Georgia one week and Oklahoma the next, and I mean, the key for Ole Miss is, can you find a way to split that? Can you win one of those games? So if you can, you're probably in pretty good shape. If you lose them both, there's a world where that's the end of your season, basically, at the end of October. We'll see. And that's
no, Neil, 12-0, baby, 12-0. That's what we're gonna do.
I mean, who knows? I mean, someone's gonna overachieve and someone's gonna underachieve, and then you're gonna have. I think you're probably gonna see another season like the one you just saw a year ago, where.
Yep.
I mean, Tennessee made the playoff and lost in Fayetteville. Alabama didn't make the playoff.
Yeah, right.
Alabama didn't make the playoff because it lost at Vanderbilt. Ole Miss didn't make the playoff because it lost to Kentucky. I mean, that was the league last year. I mean, those were good teams.
Well, I'm taking my dad's approach. I've been to 2 games in the last 2 years, and we've lost both. And last year's was Kentucky, so not doing that this coming year.
Yeah,
it's funny, Neil. We'll be watching like a basketball game, and I'll text my dad, "Man, Dad, we're up by 10 with about 2 minutes to go," and he'll turn it on, and we lose.
Yeah, I can't make fun of superstitions.
I'll just catch it tomorrow.
I can't make fun of superstitions. I won't make fun of superstitions. I know.
You're a Cubs fan. How can you?
Well, and I mean during the Thunder season. I mean, I'll tell this story.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was a joke with me and Carson. He always makes fun of my bald head, and so Alex Caruso with the Thunder is a bald-headed guy, and he was like, "Dad," I mean, because my favorite player has always been Jalen Williams, the Santa Clara Jalen Williams, J-Dub. I love J-Dub. He's my guy, and he's like, "Dad, Dub can't be your guy. Caruso's got to be your guy. You look like Caruso." And I was like, "Well, I wish I could be as lean as Caruso." And he goes, "Well, maybe you could pull it off with a headband." And so one day I ordered an NBA headband, and I started goofing around with it around him. And I put it on one night. It was first round of the playoffs, and the Thunder weren't playing well. And I threw the headband on just as a joke, and they came back and won. And he's like, "Yeah, you noticed what happened." And then over the course of the playoffs, he started making me wear the headband. And so when we went to game 2 of the NBA Finals, I'm like, "Hey, I'm not wearing the headband." And he's like, you got to bring it. You got to bring it. He wouldn't let me leave the hotel room without the headband in my pocket. And so we get to the game, and when Alex Caruso came into the game off the bench, the game was still pretty close, and I jokingly just put it on for a second, and the Thunder went on like a 19-2 run. And the girl next to me said, "You take that off and I'll kill you." And so I get it about I get superstitions. I don't make fun of them, but you are, as long as we're all inherently aware that we're not truly impacting anything. So if you
that's right.
if you and your dad really want to go to Kentucky, your presence is not going to impact the outcome of that game.
Well, I'll tell you this real quick, and I'll get off here. So my cousin Kevin was one of the trainers for the Redbirds in Memphis for a long time, and he actually went to OKC for the Thunder, and he is now the head trainer for OKC. So we were definitely all pulling for OKC.
How about that?
For sure.
What's his name?
Yeah, pretty cool. His name's Kevin.
Okay.
Kevin Jones.
Okay. How about that? That's pretty cool. Yeah. From all accounts, it's a great organization. So, it's a neat story.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Neil, thank you for everything, buddy.
Thank you.
Can't wait for this coming season to see y'all at the news site for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
All right, buddy. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. The way that this thing works, I can't line calls up, so I can only take one at a time. Thanks to the people that have tried to call. Lines are open for a little while, so feel free to call, just like that person has done. Hold on, caller. I'm getting to you. Hey, who do we have?
Hello?
Hey, caller, you're on.
What's up, Neil? It's Tupelo.
Hey, Tupelo, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot. Just got done eating at a Mexican restaurant with some family, so that was good. I got to tell you, I've been on a pretty strict no-carb diet for the last, 9 months now.
Yeah.
And when you actually eat carbs, you feel disgusting.
Yeah. I was going to say, you probably didn't pull the no carbs off at a Mexican restaurant.
No, listen, I tried my best, but when the chips are placed right in front of you,
Yeah, it is
really hard.
You're just a human being. There's only so much you can do. I mean, you go to a Mexican restaurant.
Who am I?
I know. Yeah, I know. I mean, they put chips and salsa in front of you at a Mexican restaurant. And you just have no choice, really. And then you eat two.
And here's the thing. I don't know if it's because I'm one of the guys at the table or what, but there's two things for certain that will be placed right in front of me at a restaurant. The first is the chips, and the second is the check.
Yeah.
They're going to place it right in front of me.
Did you pick up?
Which is fine.
Yeah. Did you pick up the check tonight, or did you just pay for yourself?
No, we actually were eating with my mom's brother who lives in St. Louis. He was down, and so my grandparents, so my mom and uncle's parents, picked up the tab tonight.
Oh, that's good.
But it was placed right in front of me.
There you go.
It's placed right in front of me. But anyway, hey, Grind asked in the chat. I want to ask you what's your rankings 1 to 16 for coming up this year? I think we all know probably 15 and 16, but just for SEC football.
Let me see if I can find where I did.
While you're looking for that,
Here it is.
I'm not sure but behind Georgia's quarterback play, I would be a little concerned if I were a Georgia fan and Gunnar Stockton being my quarterback.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Supposedly Kirby's really high on him though, and they've got talent everywhere else. Everywhere else. I mean, that is a loaded roster. So I had Georgia 1, Texas 2, LSU 3, Alabama 4. And knowing kind of what I know today, I think I might even put LSU number 1, but that's what I had in the 10 thoughts that no one will ever read. I had Ole Miss 5, South Carolina 6, Florida 7. I think those 3 teams are kind of interchangeable. Like, I think you can make an argument for Ole Miss, South Carolina, or Florida 5, 6, 7 in any order, my opinion. Then, and this is where the league gets weird, man. Like, these next 5 teams, you could convince me that I'm way off either way. Texas A&M, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Auburn. I've got those teams 8 through 12 in that order, but like that's darts at the dartboard. You know what I mean? I mean, you could tell me Oklahoma's 5th, and I'd go, oh, okay. And you could tell me Oklahoma's 12th, and I'd go, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm that way with a lot of teams. I mean, that's like I was saying earlier. There's a media guy, I think he's with AL.com, who had Ole Miss at like 11 or 12, and I was like, everybody's going to scream at that, but sure. And I saw John Sokoloff had Ole Miss at 8, and I was like, yeah. I mean, that's not ridiculous. I obviously think they're going to be better than that. I think they're going to finish higher than that. I've got them at 5, but I mean, I
love conference because if conference rankings are so interchangeable, especially like in those middle of the pack teams, because a 9-3 Ole Miss and a 9-3 South Carolina may be 2 spots separated from each other, just depending on who they lose to and who they beat.
Yeah.
So 7th in the SEC Ole Miss, if they finish 8-4, but how they get to 8-4 would determine if they're 7th or if they're 10th, and that's a big difference. And so that's why I don't really watch these rankings. This happens in the NFL every year, and I've said on this show before, I'm a Chiefs fan. I was born a Chiefs fan, and I've seen the worst days as a Chiefs fan. And every year, it's the Chargers division to lose this time. and I see a bunch of Chiefs fans mad about, oh my goodness, why would you, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, the only difference in SEC play and NFL play is the NFL divisions don't go by division records. They go by your whole league record.
Right.
Which, by the way, is why I'm so checked out on college football playoff talk, because
Same.
I don't think we're going to have a good system until we find a system, if it's even possible, where the actual games determine the actual outcome.
Yeah.
Because I don't like following along, and we're in week 11, and Ole Miss is 8-2, and it's a battle of the Clemson Tigers versus Wake Forest, and they're saying, oh, this is a big game for Clemson because if they win, they may fully solidify themselves. And I'm thinking, I can't follow along. So that's why I've never been so checked out of college football. I just watch Ole Miss, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Well, like in the NFL, the Chiefs, if they go 12-5 this year, and they lose to the 5 worst teams on their schedule, if they lose to the Giants, the Broncos, the Raiders, I think that they play the Jaguars and whoever, but they finish one game above the Chargers or whoever, they're winning the division, and that's all that matters. It's not about who you lose to, and it's just you got to win the games. I don't know. I can't stand it when we're depending on a committee to figure it out. But anyway.
Hey, I forgot to say this earlier. Hang tight. I forgot to tell you that the mailbag questions, the mailbag is presented by Art Hayes, Sotheby's International Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, put the power of Sotheby's to work for you. As a licensed agent with Sotheby's International Realty and a supporter of all things Ole Miss, Art can help you buy or sell in your hometown or anywhere in the world, no charge to you. Seriously. So call and ask Art how. Art's a great guy, by the way. He'll be down here at least once or twice in the fall for Ole Miss games. I've met Art in a couple of spots. Super guy. So give him a call, 612-805-5929, or email him at Arthur, ARTHUR, .Hayes, HAYS, at lakesmn.com. What else?
Art's a great name.
Art's
a great name.
Great guy. We've met a couple of spots. So
that's good.
I've had breakfast with him, coffee with him here, and he had a son who just graduated from Arkansas, and I've met him in Fayetteville one weekend for a couple of beers. So that was Art's super guy.
So I've noticed you talking about a little bit more. I'm done with sports. I want to talk about. I've heard you mention it a few times this week, and you've opened up a little bit more. So I got to ask.
Okay.
What is holding you guys back from just naming the 24/7 site Rebel Grove? I mean, these things are trademarked, right?
Well, we couldn't name it Rebel Grove. We could do a playoff of Rebel Grove, but here's the problem with that. And I mean, like, look, in a part of me kind of thought about it at one point because there was a moment this summer where I was like really vindictive. You're going to have SEO problems when you do that. You're going to have search engine problems because they're going to pop up first. You don't want that. Like, you want one of the problems with Rivals was beginning to have an SEO problem. And then the other thing is, to our hardcore followers, people are going to be like, yeah, shove it to them, right? I get it. But, I mean, our goal is to grow. Our goal is to be able to attract new customers. Our goal is going to be able to appeal to young people, to be able to bring people to the front door of the site. They look at it and go, yeah, I want to give that a chance. And so that sounds funny and stuff in theory, and you'd certainly get a little splash out of it, obviously. But at the end of the day, I don't know that it's particularly prudent.
Well, I will say, if this was going to happen, if this merge and all this was going to happen, I think it actually benefits you and Chase and all the guys moving to 24/7 that it happens this close to football season, because it allows the word to get out a little bit quicker. Be like, oh no, you need to check Neil and Chase's site, and the ones that have been checked out can easily just cancel a subscription and start another one.
Well,
I mean,
and it's
I
right.
thought that actually benefited you.
And I give Shannon Terry a lot of credit for this. Seriously, at On 3, Shannon could have held me to a contract and basically kept me on the sidelines through Halloween. He absolutely could have. He legally, contractually could have easily done it. And he didn't.
Enough time for your book.
I mean, it would have just been it would have been super awkward. And I give him I'm very appreciative that he didn't do that. That he was kind enough to let me out and let me go to work where I have a contract and to work with my people, and I'm appreciative of that. So it's all gonna sort itself out. I mean, I think we're gonna have a really good site. I'm excited about it. I'm just excited in general. I'm pretty pumped. I mean, it's as kind of as full as my battery has felt in a long time.
So I know that you can't speak too much because the change hasn't been officially done yet, but you've mentioned writing a story on August 1st.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. So I didn't know if that was you just kind of like just throwing it out there, or are you being serious? Like you're going to.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about.
Write a story.
I'm going to talk about why I'm there and what all happened and what we have planned and things of that nature. We probably Chase wrote one. Chase wrote something similar when he started over there at 24/7 on what was that, May the 20th or something like that. It feels like a million years ago, but so it'll be something along those lines, but it'll be personal. I've prided myself, for good or bad, on being pretty transparent, and I'll be pretty transparent here. I mean, I've kind of said some of it tonight already, so I'm going to sit down, probably start really writing it tomorrow, and I'm like I said, I mean, it's not, that day's not going to be about me though. That day's going to be second, third day of camp, may even end up being media day. It's going to be a work day. But so I'm not going to make the whole day about me, for God's sake. But I am going to talk. It was a decision. I think it's important that I say this a few times. This was a decision for me to go to 24/7 that I made. I started making it a year ago. I made the decision in March. I think the day that I signed the contract was the Saturday between Ole Miss's NCAA tournament games in Milwaukee. They played, if I remember right, they played Friday against North Carolina, and then they played on Sunday against Iowa State. And if I remember correctly, I either signed it the day before the North Carolina game or the day between those two games, and I can't remember which. I think it was the day in between. I think it was Saturday. So this was a decision that I'd made for a long time, and obviously Chase was very involved in that process, and so the whole merger.
That was a busy week.
Yeah, it was a busy week. There's a lot going on. That merger thing didn't have any impact on us. It created a narrative that is just simply false. I mean, that On 3 shut us down because whatever, that wasn't it at all. And to Shannon's credit, he's admitted that wasn't it. I mean, I think would have added us, would have hired us, would have built around us, but we were already signed with 24/7.
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, I'm going to ask you one question, and then I'm going to hop off and listen to the rest of the show. So I know in basketball, I did a hot take prediction on who's going to make the finals. I picked the Lakers and Pacers, and I got one right. I'm going to do my hot take pick for the Super Bowl this year. I know football hasn't started, but technically football season starts 2 weeks from today, if you can believe it. Yeah. July 31st is the Canton Hall of Fame game.
Wow.
But I'm going to
– Is that right?
My prediction here. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, the July 31st on a Thursday night.
Oh, wow.
There's going to be the headliner is going to be Hand Raise Guys, but following that will be the Canton Hall of Fame game.
Wow.
But anyway.
Crazy.
So I'm picking this year and this hurts my heart to say it, but I'm picking the Buffalo Bills to make the Super Bowl, and I am picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to make the Super Bowl. And I think that will be a very, very fun, very, very fun Super Bowl match. Hey, it's a hot take. It's not what you would predict any other time. And the Bills maybe the Bills, but the Buccaneers, I think they may have a good year. But anyway, all right, Neil, I'll leave you with this question. I'm gonna hop off. Just want to say go Cardinals. But I'm going to ask you: do you predict, or what do you predict will happen first? An Ole Miss basketball Final Four appearance, or an Ole Miss football Final Four appearance? And I'll leave you to that. Have a good night, Neil.
Ooh, thank you. Appreciate the call. Boy, that's a good one. That might be a good 10 thoughts item too. That could steal that. I think I'd predict a basketball Final Four before I predicted a football Final Four, because I just watched a basketball team with the possible caveat of Malik Dia. I just watched a basketball team with no NBA presence at all go to the Sweet 16 and come within literally a bucket from the Elite Eight. So I think I'd say basketball. That's a great question, though. Hey, caller, who's this?
Hey, Neil, it's Austin.
Hey, Austin, what's up, man?
Man, I'm making it. Hey, real quick, before I get into my question I wanted to ask you, I wanted to follow up on what y'all were just talking about real quick. So, like, for me, I've never been a member of any website. I've never done that, but I've always said that if I ever did, it'd be yours, and you and Chase, because, you know, I just really appreciate how you guys cover my school, and to know that you guys were at one time, you know, up in the air about what your future was.
Yep.
You know, that really, 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 you know, in hindsight, knowing that you guys are going to stick around, I just want you to know that I appreciate you, and I know I'm not alone. So I wanted to start off with saying that.
Well,
I'm glad you're still around.
Don't forget, there's a code that you can use over there right now that gets 75% off an annual subscription. And it's Chase gets you 75, CHASE gets you YOU 75. That code gets you 75% off annual subscription. And in a world, do you subscribe to Paramount?
At one time I believe I might still be.
If you use Paramount, you pay full price instead of using the 75%, you're going to get Paramount for free. So you're going to save.
Oh, wow.
Frankly, I think you're going to save even more that way. So if you use Paramount, that's probably your better bet. If you don't use Paramount, cool. Use the code, you get 75% off.
I might have to take you up on that, because knowing that you guys are going to stick around, trust me, if there's anybody that I want to get my news from, it's y'all.
Well, that's very nice of you.
Oh, no problem. I just really appreciate how you guys cover my school in an objective, honest, and fair way. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I wanted to get off that and wanted to ask you my question real quick. So you and Josh on the show on Wednesday, and I guess to an extent you and Tyler today hit on it a little bit. And I just kind of wanted to ask it in a different way this time, because it's really all anybody's talking about online, it feels like right now.
Okay.
What on earth if you were advising the White House, or if you had the opportunity to advise that guy, how would you say it, and what would you say to this guy right now about in regards to the debacle that's going on? Because it feels like he's losing his base by the day.
He's alienating a lot of it too. Well, this is an example of over-promising and then under-delivering, right? So I don't know that you can fix it now. Like from a PR approach, this is where someone on the campaign should have been able to say, or should have said, hey, before we promise these files, before we promise this transparency on this, are we sure we can actually deliver that? Because if we can't, let's not promise it. Like, it's basic sales, right? Under promise, over deliver. You do that, and man, I mean, you tell people, hey, man, this is a pretty good steakhouse. And then you go in there and it's phenomenal. You walk out of there going, oh my God. But you tell people, hey, man, this steakhouse is amazing. It's incredible. The service is out of sight, the whole deal. And then you go in and it's pretty good. It's good. But it's not what
but
you
the
expected.
best thing about it is the rolls.
Yeah, but it wasn't what you expected. And you kind of walk out disappointed. And that's what Trump's done to himself here a little bit, in my opinion, because he's achieved a lot in 6 months. But this thing sticks out like a sore thumb. And now, even though I kind of think they're sort of telling the truth right now, no one believes them. And so, here's my hot take on this whole Epstein thing is this, and it's both parties. The two parties have hated each other for a long time. Trump's been on the national stage as a presidential candidate / president since 2015. That's 10 years. If there was incriminating evidence that Donald Trump had gone down to Epstein's Island with Jeffrey Epstein and had his way with some 12-year-old girl, we'd know. We don't know that.
Oh, 100%.
We don't know that because that evidence is just not there. And the same applies for Barack Obama, for Bill Clinton, for pick your people. You have allegations, but the allegations haven't been proven. A lot of this stuff is locked up in the courts. You have allegations that have been made by the alleged victims, about the alleged victims. A lot of that is locked up in courts. So the attorneys can't comment on that. The White House can't comment on sealed grand jury testimony. And either the media can't get their hands on it or don't want it. And so now you have this, they've overpromised this thing that they can't deliver, probably because it doesn't really exist. And nobody believes that because nobody trusts, the truth is, nobody really trusts government that much anymore after all of the weirdness that we've been through as a country for the last, really dating back to the date that Trump got sworn in. I mean, you think about it, nobody really trusts media anymore. Nobody trusts government anymore. We were told there was this Russian, if you think about it, this isn't even a partisan opinion. We were told there was this Russian scandal involving Donald Trump being compromised and urinating on Russian prostitutes that turned out to be completely fabricated. You had the Hunter Biden laptop scandal that the media and the administration at the time said was that the media basically said, and you had the Washington establishment say was Russian propaganda. Turned out to be Miranda Devine's reporting was exactly right. Everything that she reported was in that laptop, was absolutely in that laptop. So then you had all the COVID stuff. You had a contested election. Now, Trump was never able to prove that election was stolen. He still claimed it forever, but he couldn't prove it. And now you have Epstein, which, and a year ago, you had an attempt on Trump's life when he was a candidate. You had Joe Biden drop out of the race on letterhead that didn't have the White House letterhead on it. You've got this auto pen scandal. The American people we're not really motivated to believe anybody right now. And so right now it's Donald Trump's turn to not be believed. And he is struggling with it. And now he's telling people he doesn't want their support anymore. I mean, he's committing PR debacle after another. But everybody, like you have all these people that are saying, hey, release the files. I mean, I think it's time to consider the possibility that there are no files to release.
I don't disagree with that. I will say this, in the event that I don't think it's. I've seen some people online, especially in his base, and full transparency, I voted for the guy 3 different times now. He was the first guy I could ever vote for back in 2016 when I first was old enough to vote, and I voted for him twice subsequently since then. So, you know, the guy, I'm not crazy about the guy, but he's my candidate.
Yeah.
And ultimately now president. And I can say this, it feels like some in his base are wanting this to go away because they don't want to talk about it. And I'm totally fine with accepting the fact that maybe if there was evidence at one time, it's been destroyed and, you know, we'll probably never see the light of day. I'm willing to accept that, even though it sucks. But the fact of the matter is, it should not be a controversial statement to say that exploiting children is wrong and abusing children is wrong.
Of course.
I've heard some people claim on.
I mean, it's
like that's just not healthy.
No, it's the worst. It's awful. I mean,
you should be able to admit out loud that abusing children is wrong without being called a Trump hater.
Well, it's one of it's one of the PR debacles here, because I think his administration has done a tremendous job in a very short period of time, 6 months, in making sex trade of minors much more rare and much more difficult for the criminals who are committing it. And yet he can't really get to that because of this. And so I think what you're seeing is he does this thing when he's frustrated that kind of throws a temper tantrum. And he's frustrated right now that this auto pin thing with Biden isn't getting the traction that it may have in a different environment, and he's not getting credit for some of the things that he's done at the border as it pertains to sex trafficking. He's done really good work there, but this Epstein thing was, you know, kind of a initial part of the campaign in the early days of the presidency, and they made promises, and here we are. They either can't deliver them or they refuse to deliver them, and I don't know the answer. There's no way for me to know that, right? I mean, there's no way for anybody to know that. And so when we don't know, we start guessing. And the government, frankly, and representatives of both parties, they've kind of lost the benefit of the doubt. We talked about benefit of the doubt a minute ago as it pertained to like Alabama and preseason polls and Ole Miss and preseason polls and Georgia and preseason polls, even though Gunnar Stockton's the quarterback, people just assume, well, you know what? Georgia's going to get it right because they get it right. That's benefit of the doubt. It makes sense. What you have here is people go, I don't believe you. I don't trust you, because you've lost the benefit of the doubt. And they earned that loss of benefit of the doubt.
I think part of that is, honestly, and I won't belabor a point very much after this, but part of that is the distrust we have in our media as well.
Sure.
Like,
absolutely.
You know,
I've been saying that for years. I mean, you have no idea how many friends in the media I've lost. And I say friends in quotes. People that I would normally be, you know, friendly with when I saw them, who now glare at me, won't speak to me. I mean, there's a lot of people in the media there's one guy today, CBS News, he said he's covering the Trump thing, you know, the Trump attempt on Trump's life in Butler a year ago. And he had PTSD from the what he thought was the people were going to turn on them, you know, before Trump stood up and pumped his fist, that had the basically saying had the bullet hit Trump and killed Trump, that the media was going to be blamed, and there was going to be carnage in the press area because people were going to blame media for Trump's death. I mean, I can't believe somebody for CBS would say that out loud, but he did. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, the media's absolutely lost the benefit of the doubt.
And to be honest with you, they kind of deserved it.
Yeah, of course. Well, you typically, if you get the benefit of the doubt, you typically deserved it. You know, like Alabama gets the benefit of the doubt. Well, they've kind of dominated the sport basically for 2 decades. They sort of deserve it. You know, I mean, okay. I mean, it's hard to argue that. Georgia's been the dominant program in the SEC for the last 5 years. You know, they kind of deserve the benefit of the doubt. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss have gone. They've been really good for the last 4 years. Won 10 or more games 3 of the last 4 years. They've been a contender for the last 4 years into November. They've earned the benefit of the doubt, even though they lose a lot off defense. They lose a first-round quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that applies to everything. It's one of the reasons I like sports so much is that I think sports often is a parable for like the real world. You know, sports is a
You can't fake results.
no, sports is a meritocracy. You earn your reputation in sports. One way or the other, you know.
Which
So
not to belabor a point, and I'll hop off in a little bit to let other people call, and I'll keep enjoying the show. But you mentioned that I just realized, not sure if you know this. I'm sure you probably did, but just in case you didn't. Do you know in Lane's 5 years in Oxford, the top 3 winningest football programs in the conference are Georgia, Alabama, and Ole Miss in that order?
Yeah. I mean, I've been writing about it for a couple of years. I mean, outside of Georgia and Alabama, Ole Miss they've been at the top of the league. Yeah, I mean, the only 2 programs that wouldn't trade places with Ole Miss over the last 5 years are Georgia and Alabama. For sure.
That is just insane to me.
Yeah, I mean,
I just had to hop.
He's
insane to me. Trust me, I love it, but it's insane.
Yeah, no, he's an elite coach. He's done amazing work. I mean, he's taken advantage of a system that changed, and he has been on the progressive part of the curve. He's been ahead of the game. Some of his contemporaries have acknowledged it, and some of his contemporaries who are also good coaches have been sort of behind that curve, and they've paid for it.
And last thing I'll ask before I get off and keep enjoying the show, I wanted to ask this, and I'll ask it, I'll hang up, and I'll keep enjoying the show. So I hope you have a good weekend, my man.
Thank you.
I've never heard the story, and I'd love to hear it, or at least as much of it as you'd be willing to tell. When and how did you and Tyler Siski first become friends? And when was the decision made for you guys to do 2 or 3 time a week show? Like when did those discussions start? And with that, I'm gonna let you have the floor. Appreciate you, my man.
Thank you. Appreciate
as always.
You. Yeah. So Tyler and I knew each other from back in Mobile back in the day a little bit, and then when he came to Ole Miss with Hugh Freeze's staff, that was 2012. We met. I knew him then. And then he left to go to Alabama, and he came back with Matt Luke when Matt got the permanent job. Hey, caller, I've got you on. Hang tight real quick. I'll get right to you, okay? When he got the permanent job, Tyler was the recruiting coordinator for those 2 years. He was great. He was the best recruiting coordinator I've ever worked with anywhere from a media standpoint. He was amazing. Could not have been more friendly, not just to me, but to everyone in media covering Ole Miss. He was great. Really made that part of the job easy. And if you were the type of person that treated them fairly and just wanted to be accurate, he was awesome. And I certainly fit that mold. And we developed a friendship, I guess. And when he got fired by Kiffin, it wasn't that Lane fired him for anything bad. It was just timing, and Tyler had just signed a contract that I think Lane wanted to bring in his own people, and Tyler had some time on his hands, and when he was starting Quick U, when he was playing around with the concept of Quick U, I was one of the people that he kind of sounded the idea off of because he knew I had some media experience and all of that, and so when he started Quick U, he started a podcast as part of Quick U. He was just kind of doing it by himself, or he was doing it with, Rich Rod or some people. I think he had Eddie Gran as a co-host one year. He was doing that, and I knew he wanted to put it on a platform that would get it more exposure, and so I convinced him to put it on MPW Digital. And then when my ridiculous show with Chris Landry finally ended, I had the opening to do it, and I said, "Hey," I can't remember who approached who. Maybe we kind of talked about it together, but we talked about, "Hey, let's do it. Let's do a show together," and we launched it. I guess that'd be 3 years ago, and about this time. And I don't remember how we landed on 3 shows a week or 2 shows a week. That just kind of happened, kind of organically, and I guess that's 292 shows later. That's the story. Hey, caller, who do we have?
Hey, Neil. It's Bobbin.
Hey, Bobbin, what's up, man?
Not much. You talking about when you and Syski met or became friends?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just it's funny in hindsight that my first introduction to just Tyler as a person was the 2013 Alabama Ole Miss game, which I'm sure he doesn't hear about at all.
Oh, never.
And now, in hindsight, just getting to know Tyler through the show and the website, I don't know. It's just funny.
Yeah. Well,
I'm pretty sure one of my cousins was one of the guys that was hate tweeting him that night.
Yeah. I mean, that was
I know he caught a lot of.
That was a mistake by that
That
broadcast.
was too freeze.
And it was that broadcast crew. And yes, exactly. And and Tyler will never say this. I will. It was Hugh. Hugh overreacted. Tyler was just doing his job that night. And you know what? Ole Miss wasn't winning that night. They weren't ready to win that night. They won the next year. They beat Alabama the next year. They learned a lot. They got a lot better. But in 2013, on that night in Tuscaloosa, Ole Miss was not winning that game. Period.
I remember, I want to say, was that the year they beat Vandy and they had blown out Texas and there was a lot of hype around it, but I mean, I couldn't remember what the score is. I remember Freeze went for it on fourth down a million times.
2013.
Yeah, that's it. Because that was the game, I don't know why I remember this. That was the game C.J. Johnson got smoked in the eye with a flag by the ref.
It's 25-0.
I think he missed them.
September 25th, I think it says. September 29th, 2013. Alabama, number one, Alabama. Alabama was number one in the country. Shuts out number 21, Mississippi. I'm reading from the AP, so it says Mississippi, but it's Ole Miss. I mean, Alabama got a field goal. Then second quarter, they got 2 more field goals. It was 9-0 Bama at the half. Bama got a touchdown early in the third quarter, made it 16-0, and then they scored. Got a safety to make it 18-0. Then they scored a touchdown to make it 25-0 with 5:52 to go. I mean, they weren't. Hugh was wrong to even get into the whole thing with Ty. That was stupid. But that's what Hugh does, though. You got to understand this. It's the Hugh Freeze way.
He always has to have a scapegoat.
He always blames somebody when things blow up on him. Always. I've been the victim of it big time. And Tyler was then too, and it's silly. And look, Hugh's, and here's the thing about Hugh. Even with all the stuff that happened with me and him, I still like him. If I saw him today, I'd give him a handshake. I'd talk to him. I'd ask about his family. I like Hugh. He's a nice person. Sometimes he just needs a scapegoat, and he does stupid stuff. And the Syski binocular thing was idiotic. Tyler he was working for Alabama. That's who was paying his salary. I mean, Kelvin Bolden's going to be working for LSU this fall. I promise you, if he can help LSU beat Ole Miss in Oxford, he's going to do it. And that doesn't make him a traitor. It just makes him a part of the coaching staff.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, so you're going to chuckle at this because you remember I messaged you, like a month ago, a few weeks ago, about trying to get my subscription canceled to Rivals. Well, On3 ended up charging me anyways, even though I canceled my Rival subscription this week.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've been doing that for a bunch of people. I didn't know you had to independently cancel or choose not to renew the On3 subscription because I guess technically they bought Rivals, correct?
I think if you'll reach out to them and tell them, it appears I'm gonna give them.
They got back to me almost immediately and gave me a refund.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got to give Billy Embody a lot of credit over there. He doesn't want that. So if your subscription was renewed and you didn't mean for it to be renewed, or you had canceled with one and it got all, they will fix it. I think they already refunded it, and I emailed them Monday morning. I mean, I've got issues with people over there, and Chase has issues with people over there, but I have no issues with Billy, and he's been nothing but good to me. And I said this many times. I've said it multiple times tonight. Shannon and the people at the people at the top of On3 they've been very professional to me. I've got no issue with them. There are people there that I have issues with. It's not them. And so,
oh really? I haven't heard.
And they've been good. I think they've been pretty good about misunderstandings as it pertains to subscriptions and such. So I'm glad to hear that you got it worked out.
I mean, God, you know what? I'll say it. There was the pipe dream of me hoping that this football season you'd be doing a post-game recap with Chuck, but I guess that dream's just never going to happen.
Yeah, no, it was never going to happen.
What do you think happened tonight, Neil?
That was never going to happen. I mean, that's not. Yeah, no.
No comment. No comment.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a secret that we don't care for one another. It is what it is.
Yeah. There been a lot of football talk so far.
Oh, we've talked some football. Yeah. I mean, I think we've talked about as much football as you can talk about football until there's football. You know what I mean? I mean, we're doing the preseason guessing thing. I mean, the good news is
it's just one of those things where you're so close now that even if you talk about it ad nauseum, it's just, it's the only talking point.
Yeah, no,
I mean, the only thing going on right now is pro baseball, and I don't have an MLB team. Like, I'm not a Braves fan or a Cubs fan.
Oh no, it's talking season. I'm not making fun of it. I'm just like, people are like, what do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, we're to that point of the year where they're going to start practicing here soon, and you'll start hearing things out of other teams about injuries and maybe people that are surprising or whatever, and then August the 30th, they're going to play games. Thank God. And once they play games, it's much more easier to start forming opinions that might have some validity to them. Because right now we're kind of stabbing in the dark a little bit because you just don't know what everybody else.
Yeah.
There's so much turnover around the country that I don't know. I find it difficult to have like really hard formed opinions of teams right now.
Which is one of the things, so I was talking to my dad last night. My dad was like, well, like, how do you think this season is going to go? And I told him, I was like, look, I'm not doing the Debbie Downer thing that you accuse me of being sometimes, but I think with this roster, if they win 9 or more games, it'll be Kiffin's best coaching job.
Absolutely.
Since he's gotten there.
Yeah, he'll be SEC Coach of the Year. SEC Coach of the Year at that point. Yeah.
And people, I've said this to a couple of my friends, and they push back and be like, well, what do you mean? You think we're good? Like, what, you think we're going to go 7-5, 6-6? I was like, I don't think that's going to happen. But in saying that, I'm
so looking
at the roster.
What do you think that what's the ceiling? Everything goes well. What's the ceiling? They stay basically healthy.
9-3.
You see, I think the ceiling's 10-2. I think the ceiling is 10-2.
Okay.
Like I don't think it's I think it's realistically it's difficult to go, okay, I'm going to give them a dub in Athens. Like, I mean, sure, it could happen.
No, that's an automatic L.
But to me, I think if you're looking at this objectively, you got to go, okay, that's probably an L. So then you say, where are the other? Is there another automatic L? And I don't think there is. Then you go, okay, well, what about?
No, I don't either.
What about games that are losable? And so this is where I go, okay, LSU at home, losable. Losable. That's the key word, losable. We're all being rational here. At Oklahoma, I think is a losable game. And then at home against South Carolina and at home against Florida, I think those are losable games. Doesn't mean you'll lose them all. Doesn't mean that you win them all. Just saying those are games that conceivably Ole Miss could lose. And then so you take the other side and you go, what are automatic wins? I think all 4 non-cons, even Tulane, are automatic wins. I think they're going to win those games. I think John's team will be ready to play. I don't think it'll be some mauling. I think it'll be an interesting game, but I think Ole Miss will beat Tulane. They'll beat Washington State. They're going to beat Georgia State. And who's the other one? Citadel or somebody?
something like that.
Something like that. They'll win that game. So that's 4. So you've got 4 wins, 1 loss, and then these 4 games in the middle. So that's 9. Then realistically, Ole Miss would have to screw up to lose at Kentucky, at home against Arkansas, or at Mississippi State. Like if you told me if the football gods dropped in and said they lose one of those 3 games, I say night-night. Playoffs are out. Forget it. Not happening. But if they win those 3 games, let's give them those 3 wins. Let's give them at Kentucky, home against Arkansas, at Mississippi State. So now we've given them 7 wins, 1 loss, and you got 4 games that we all agree are losable. To make the playoffs, realistically, they've got to win 3 of the 4 losable games. Can they? Sure. Does that feel like a big ask? It does. And so then you do the other way, like they don't play the games in a bowl. They play the games one by one. The first critical game from a just momentum standpoint is LSU. If they beat LSU, now you just have to, even if you lose to Georgia, as long as you
Georgia's a free shot.
Yeah, as long as you beat Oklahoma, you can lose to Georgia and you're fine. As long as you can come home in November and just win one of the 2 games against Carolina or Florida, you'll get in at 10-2. If you lose to LSU, you create this environment where if you lose to LSU and then you lose at Georgia, now you got to run the table. And we saw last year.
You're traversing a landmine.
Yes, we saw last year when you have to run the table, it just the pressure mounts. So, yeah, you got to go to Oklahoma and win. And then you got to come home and immediately beat South Carolina. And then you get, I think they play whoever that is, Sisters of the Poor. And then you immediately, there's Florida, right? And then that's a lot. And I'm not saying they can't do it, but so the whole 10-2 feels like a ceiling. And to me, 7-5 feels like the floor. And so my deal has always been take your ceiling, take your floor, meet in the middle, and that's probably where they're going to go, which is exactly what Vegas has done, putting them right in the middle of what I think is the ceiling and what I think is the floor, and that's 8.5. And that's why Vegas, all those buildings are built with cash.
I will, and to piggyback off what you're saying, what I think is so fascinating about this upcoming season. So you talked about those 4 losable games, right? LSU, Oklahoma, Florida, and South Carolina.
Yeah.
With the exception of LSU, those other 3 teams are kind of wild card question marks, kind of like Ole Miss is.
Yeah, of course.
Especially at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Like, I know, they got Sellers and Lagway coming back, but a lot of people are like, oh, well, they're not really that good. And then you got some people that are like, oh, they're going to take this huge next step because they're sophomores that are returning.
Yeah. And we don't. And truth is, we don't know the answer, right? I mean, they're like you said, they're wild cards, and then you've got really smart football people that are all over this Oklahoma bandwagon. That doesn't mean they're right at all. People that are talking about John Mateer winning the Heisman. I mean, that feels.
I don't know much about the Mateer kid, but the more I read about it, there's people thinking he's going to walk in year 1 and be one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
And I mean, smart football people think that. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. Smart football people get football stuff wrong all the time. But I do think when you start hearing this consensus from people, you have to pay some attention to it and go, well, maybe. And so, Oklahoma's a wild card for sure. I mean, like Oklahoma and Auburn play September the 20th. To me, that's one of the really early games that you circle is, man, we're going to learn a lot that day about those 2 teams.
See, for me, it's that one, and then it's Florida LSU week 3.
Yeah,
I think,
sure.
Look, because I'm on record here. I think LSU, this is Brian Kelly's most talented team. Their fans definitely think that.
Yeah.
God knows I've had to hear about it all off season. But I think they're going to lose week 1 to Clemson. And, LSU, I'm trying to explain this to my Ole Miss friends. LSU in the portal did what Ole Miss did last year.
Yeah, no, they
just ended up.
Yep. They absolutely owned the portal. They did really, really well. They added impact players with the SEC experience all over the place.
But if they lose week 1,
yeah,
and then somehow Florida upsets them at home week 3,
yeah,
and I mean we've talked about this ever since the portal became a thing. If you do an all-in season and you majority of your best impact players are just 1-year guys, what happens when you're 1-2 at the end of week 3?
It gets real squirrely fast. It's the one thing that's kind of, we haven't really seen a lot of this now, but now that everybody sort of knows what the landscape looks like to make the playoff, once you get a second loss, you're desperate. And once you get a third loss, you're cooked. And those teams might kind of roll.
You better hope you have really good locker room culture.
Yeah, well, it's where
if you get a third loss.
It's where those Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Kentucky kind of teams are dangerous later in the season. They don't have that mentality. None of those teams are going, oh, well, 3 losses, we're done. They weren't making it anyway. They might keep playing.
Yeah.
They might get motivated to be spoiler. And on the flip side, teams like, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Auburn, those kind of teams that feel like, hey, we got to make the playoffs or the season's a failure. Once they get a third loss, they might kind of let go of the rope a little bit. We still know it's a new environment, and there's not a lot of empirical data to support much other than what we saw last year, which was teams are conducive to upsets in a league that has this much parity. That's what we saw.
Yeah, 100. I will say this, and then I actually wanted to ask you about the Thunder next. I do think so. You said you think the floor is 7-5.
Yeah, I'd be literally stunned at anything less than 7-5, and I would be stunned at 11-1 or 12-0. I would be. If you told me.
I mean, if they go 11-1, Austin Simmons is in New York, I would assume.
Yeah, and I mean that just feels like a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that. That's not even fair to that kid.
And then anything less than 7-5 would tell me that they lost the majority of those swing games that we talked about, and they got upset by Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi State. One of those games. I mean, it would tell me.
Well, I'll do you one more. I think if you told me they went 7-5, that would tell me 2 things. They didn't fix the issues they've had on the offensive line.
Yep.
And it took the defense too long to get adjusted.
That's fair.
Because I think at some point Golding's going to get the defense playing quality SEC football, but when you replace that much, there's just so many moving pieces. You got to get continuity in there at some point. If you told me they went 7-5, I was like, all right, well, the O-line was quite frankly bad again.
Yeah.
And the defense, they just –
and defense
it was just Austin Simmons having to throw 50 passes a game.
Yeah, and it would also tell me that a first-year quarterback made some first-year mistakes.
Yeah.
That's what it would be. Matt Corral, his first year. Go back and remember it. Jackson Dart, his first year, there were some mistakes. I mean, maybe he's immune to that. Maybe he doesn't make those mistakes. I don't know. We'll see. Right? He's going to play the games, but I mean, if you told me,
I heard Dart is killing it they're in love with that kid.
Yeah, I'm not
already. By the way,
I'm not surprised at all. And that's you got to replace that. Jackson had a lot of experience under his belt by the time he got to the end of his Ole Miss career. I mean, he'd played hurt. He'd played with depleted wide receiver core. He'd played with no running back. I mean, Jackson did a lot. I mean, I'm not saying Austin won't live up to Jackson immediately and supersede him or whatever, but there is a world where he has some first-year struggles, and people think some of the calls into our post-game shows are, man, we kind of took Jackson Dart for granted because it's easy to do. Dude, that dude did a lot, man. I mean, you go back and just go through his career. I mean, he had some games where his receivers were all banged up, didn't really have a running back to speak of, and he's playing hurt. That's
the Auburn game in 23 comes to mind.
Dude, the Arkansas game in 23 at home?
It would have been 23. I think that was the game didn't he bang his leg up or something?
Yeah, he hurt his knee in that game, and Arkansas led that game in the fourth quarter. I mean,
yeah.
That they were banged up. I mean, he made some gutsy plays at the end of that game to put that thing to give Ole Miss the lead and then put it away. I mean, he's a really good player. I mean, it's that walking in and just replacing him in the leadership and all that stuff is more difficult than people think it's going to be.
Yeah. So last thing, I think I asked you this in the mailbag back when I could actually look at it. So what the Thunder have locked down their equivalent of their big three, right?
Yeah.
Holmgren, Williams, SGA, which, by the way, I don't know if you watched the ESPYs last night. The Shane Gillis SGA joke was hilarious.
It was funny, yeah.
SGA is here. Now everyone's in foul trouble.
Yep.
So when you have that many draft picks, what's their next move? Is it to just start trading for players to put around that big three, or are they just going to try to draft more?
No, so they're going to build around those three. Now, where the people don't really fully understand this is that SGA's full max doesn't kick in for another year. Jalen.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, I didn't know that.
Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren have another year before these extensions kick in. So they're not going to be to the second apron for another 2 years, and they've got easy ways to manipulate their way under that apron. I mean, number one, they could let Isaiah Hartenstein go after next season. That's why they drafted Thomas Sorber from Georgetown. They could conceivably let Lou Dort go. They're super high on Cason Wallace. They have Alex Caruso on a long-term deal that's very attractive. They've got Aaron Wiggins on a long-term deal that's very attractive. They've got A.J. Mitchell on a 3-year deal for $9 million, which is an absolute steal. They have all of these picks. They can utilize the picks to fill out their roster as role players move on when they become too expensive. They can take those picks and consolidate them and go get a veteran that they need. They can take those picks and consolidate them and move up in the draft and draft another potential star on a rookie deal. They've got tons of flexibility and lots of time. And here's the other part that nobody really talks about. There's a world where by the time all of these contracts kick in, the players and the owners mutually opt to get out of this CBA and do a new one, and the new CBA would probably have a much bigger number because of the new TV deal. There's a world where even with the 3 maxes, they've got lots of room, and they can still manipulate without having to pay the tax. And they open a new arena in 2028. I'm sure if you're on social media, you probably saw some of the renderings yesterday. I mean, they are. There's no.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
no.
There's no guarantees here, but they are in a unique position to be very competitive for the next 7 years. I mean, the Spurs are too. The Nuggets are. I think the Rockets are really close. So there's no guarantees. I mean,
well, look,
if you told me they ended up winning 3 titles over a 5 or 6 year period, I'm not all that surprised because they did the hardest part. They got the first one.
Yeah. Look, I don't think people realize, and I agree 100%. If they didn't get it this year, I mean, they were going to have that window, but man, at that point, I feel like it becomes a mental thing.
Sure. And now they've got it though. They've got a title. Once you get one, you play a little different. I mean, it's no guarantees. Again, Denver hasn't won one since they won it.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, we've been here before. Like, it's no biggie. We've played a Game 7 of the NBA Finals before. We know what we got to do to, close it.
Yeah, and they're going to get better. Jalen Williams is going to get better. Chet Holmgren is going to get better. They won 68 games this year, and Chet missed 50 of them. Chet Holmgren missed 50 games.
Yeah. That got me thinking. I don't think people realize just how close the NBA fans could have been from Cooper Flagg going to the Spurs and the West just being OKC and San Antonio for the next 5 or so years.
I was a nervous wreck that night. I was so glad when the Spurs ended up with the second pick. But look,
so you can thank Adam Silver in the front office for that one.
For sure.
I don't care what anyone tells me. That shit was rigged.
For sure. But hey, Dylan Harper with Victor Wembanyama is going to be a force. And they've got Stephen Castle, and they've got a great organization. They're going to be really good for a long time. Well, hey, Vibin.
They just got to build around.
Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Take care.
Thanks to Vibin for the call. It was great stuff. I always appreciate the opportunity to talk some Thunder. I'll probably get yelled at on a couple of emails, but I've been watching Summer League, so I still have the NBA bug right now. I don't know that the NBA bug ever really goes away from me. I watch way too much NBA. I turn it on in background. I watch a lot. There's a lot of fun teams. I know it makes me weird, makes me a little bit of a misfit sometimes, but it's kind of my guilty pleasure over time. Sammy asked earlier, you asked me about hold on one second. Let me get this fixed. Hey, caller, hang tight real quick. I'm going to get right to you. Sammy, you asked what I would do if Carson got a contract in Finland, I think. He's in Finland right now. He is he's raving about Finland. He probably, if he got a soccer contract in Finland, he would go. My advice to him would just be, hey, it's your life. It's not mine. That's what I said on the whole thing with JUCO soccer, with college choice, with everything is I'm not making those decisions. I don't have to be the one that does the thing. So that's probably what I would tell him about Finland. I will tell you there's a kid from here that he played high school ball with and club ball with. No, just high school ball, who went to Spain and went to an academy there and has gotten a contract with like a level 3 Spanish team. I have no idea what that means or pays or whatnot, but he's apparently going to be playing professionally. So crazier stuff. I will say finally on this, but I'll get to the caller. High school soccer and club soccer in Mississippi at the boys level has improved exponentially year over year for the last 5-6 years. It's a shame that there's not SEC level men's soccer. I actually think it would be really successful. I think people would go. Kids play soccer. I think it would be a really entertaining product. I'm not saying it would be a big money maker, but it's a shame that it doesn't exist because it should. Hey, caller, who's this?
Hey, this is in Richards 19.
Hey, what's up, man?
Didn't realize that I might have doxed myself when I created my own username, so there's that.
It happens.
But also, you might have to, if he starts playing in Finland, you might have to like teach him the dangers of socialism and make sure he doesn't change when he comes back.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't think that's something we're gonna have to fool with. If he's gonna get a contract in Finland, it's got to happen between now and Wednesday. So, I don't think that's going to happen. I do think they were planning to play a couple of pickup games, but I don't know that the Finnish pro scouts are going to be out on the rec fields of Helsinki looking for American players over the next 5 days.
I mean, hey, so you're telling me there's a chance?
I guess there's a chance. Yeah, I mean, there's more of a chance than there would be if he weren't there right now. But I'm not overly concerned about it.
That's fair. I wanted to give a quick call because I know you and Syski kind of touched on the Shamar Stewart thing.
Yeah.
And I have very little background just kind of from what y'all discussed. But it got me started to think, have there been any lawsuits about the restrictions for football players declaring for the draft and then joining those teams and then not being able to come back to school?
I don't think so. And the way I've understood it is that that lawsuit, if someone filed it, would be immediately unsuccessful. The rules are the rules are clear about declaring for the draft, and there's a deadline to withdraw your name. He went through the draft process, was drafted. He's holding out, and he's back in College Station working out, which is not remotely uncommon. It's a story that's being wildly misreported by. It's bad journalism, frankly. It's just bad.
Right. So I understand the rule and all of that. I'm more thinking kind of challenging that rule in and of itself.
Yeah.
Almost kind of like, just thinking for baseball players.
Yeah, I don't.
They can declare, get drafted, and come back. It feels like a missed opportunity for all of these kind of shark lawyers out there.
Yeah.
Because if you get that rule overturned, then the Smith kid from Ohio State can declare after his freshman year. They're going to pay him $1.5 million, something like that, to come back to Ohio State. He can declare again after his sophomore year, come back, and just really generate that money. When, to me, again, the rule seems to be different for football, basketball, and baseball, where the court system and the legal system would say, it's the exact same. Why are we having these different rules? And if you're a private student, I can go and declare my intention to go work for Deloitte or whomever.
Yeah.
Work for them, get money, come back to school, continue doing the exact same things that I was doing, and then go forth. To me, it just, again, seems like I'm surprised that, again, all of these attorneys haven't been circling that, because that gives so much leverage to these kids to be able to, again, say, I'm declaring after my freshman year, I'll come back, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, you probably make a good point. I haven't really thought about it that far out. I keep waiting for a kid to say, "Hey, I can make more in the NFL after 1 year in college. You're making me stay 2 more years is violating my earning rights." But the way I understand it, and again, I'm not an attorney, but the way I understand it is that language about the NFL draft as it pertains to when you're eligible to be drafted and also when you've hit the point of no return in terms of being in the draft process is pretty ironclad.
Okay, that makes sense. That was something that I was thinking about when y'all were discussing Shamar Stewart, because it seems like everything
and the reason it's so ironclad is because they have that, it's all in their CBA, which is ratified and has been agreed to by the Players Association and the owners. I mean, everybody in a court of law, you would say, well, this is what's been agreed to. Everyone agreed to this. Everyone had a representation.
Okay. So it's more an NFL thing than a college sports thing. The NFL agreed.
Yeah.
We're all not going to accept this.
Yes. The NFL, they have, I mean, it's the difference between, it's college's problem, right? Is that there's nothing that really unifies them, and they're so competitive, as opposed to the NFL where, they're super competitive, but they have this agreement that's literally written down and in place where they have agreed, they've agreed that we're not going to draft players until they are 3 years removed from high school. We're not going to open we're not going to open that box. And no one does it. They've all agreed not to do it. It's in writing, so they don't do it.
Okay. So then the only wiggle room there for anybody to jump in would be, juniors declare, they pull their name out, or they get drafted kind of like the, 29 second round pick.
Yeah, but
they say they're coming back. And so that's kind of the only wiggle room you have.
Yeah, but even then, the way the paperwork works is you understand when you declare for the draft, that you're declaring for the draft, you're putting your name in the draft process, and you understand via the paperwork that you fill out that you are foregoing your college eligibility. And so you don't get to turn around and go, well, it didn't go the way I thought it would go, I'm going to take it back. No, you gave it up as part of the agreement to enter the NFL draft process.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And again, just kind of playing devil's advocate off of that, kind of, I think y'all may have talked about it before, the contractual language for these kids in college. Is it just something where they're not willing to draft it in that way, where kind of you draft the language of any NIL, pay-for-play, whatever it is? In order to get this, you have 3 years, you have to be at this institution, and if not, you owe the school this much in damages because of all of this stuff, and then you just litigate the shit to death because the player, like any player that's bringing a lawsuit, these institutions could bring it right back onto them tenfold and just beat them into death to where nobody wants to continue the suit. And so, I mean, maybe colleges are just too competitive that they want the players and they don't want to develop that type of language in the contracts, or anything like that. And don't
hey, look, the colleges.
Whereas NFL is like, you've got 32 people.
Yeah,
you're either going to want to play for us or not. We don't really care.
I mean, the colleges, there's nothing stopping them. I guess you could get into some collusion accusations or whatnot, but with this rev share procedure that's been in the House settlement with the rev share and only true NIL, there's nothing stopping the colleges from going, all right, so we're all going to do this the right way. We're going to get this under control. Except the fans are so emotional about it and they so desperately want to win and all of that almost immediately, well, there's no almost immediately following the House settlement, people were looking for loopholes. I mean, that's just right. It's the difference. It's the difference in the sports. I mean, in the NFL, there are no loopholes around the salary cap and stuff like that. Everyone knows the score and everyone's operating under the same rules and they get parity. And I mean, you can argue whatever you want to argue about the NFL, but they've been wildly successful. And one of the things that makes them so successful is that if you're a fan of a team, your team's never that far from being competitive. Mm-hmm. At the college level, you've just got this thing where we still, if there's no regulations on NIL, we're going to go right back to where it was even before all of this, which is whoever has the most money is going to win. And I guess that's attractive. Like Eli Drinkwitz made a comment today that kind of I've been talking about for a long time, and I'll loosely paraphrase it. It was people come to the games because of the people, and I think he's right. I mean, I think people go to sporting events for the most part because they like to cheer for people, but maybe I'm completely off on that. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I don't. Everyone keeps thinking I tweeted it today. I'm like, I'm not being rhetorical. I was retweeting Trey Biddy, who's a good friend of mine. He covers Arkansas for 24/7. And Trey was saying, I don't always agree with Eli Drinkwitz, but I think he's right here. And I was saying that's kind of what I ask all the time. And I ask it not in a rhetorical fashion, but I'm interested to find out the answer. What happens when your team doesn't win and you don't know who any of the players are? Are you still interested? I don't know. And maybe it is so powerful and I think this is the truth. I just don't know. We'll see. People go to college games, they go to campuses, they go to the Grove, to the Quad at Alabama, to the tailgates out in Tiger Stadium. I think, there's more to it than just a football game, right? Obviously, they're going to games, they're hanging out with family, with friends, with people that also went to that school, old classmates, fraternity brothers, sorority sisters, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe that is so powerful that it just makes it where the football is just whatever. It's awesome if we win, but if we don't, it was still fun. I mean, I've used the example when I went to my daughter's final dad's weekend with her sorority, and it was Arkansas and LSU, and there wasn't a soul in that stadium at Arkansas who believed that Arkansas was going to the playoffs. There wasn't one. There wasn't one person. And the place was packed. And I mean, I remember it was late October. I remember looking around going, son of a bitch, maybe this thing is just impenetrable. And I kind of lean that way. But there are there are people in college sports, Sankey addressed it this week, who are like, not broken, but we need to keep an eye on it. And so we'll see. I don't know that college, I don't know that the powers that be in college athletics have the emotional fortitude to hold firm against like loopholes and such. So you could be right. This could be sued to death or whatever. There's already tons of litigation. We'll see what happens.
Right. And I think I'll say this last thing, and then I'll hop off so you can take anybody's call. My thought always was, I agree with Tyler that the 1-year transfer period would kill all of that. There's no way to go back to that.
Yeah.
Like you said, the toothpaste out of the tube. My thought is always, again, the contractual law. If again, these institutions you can essentially say whatever you want in a contract. And as long as it's not illegal or anything, then they're held to the fire by it. So if, for example, the Alaska State athlete signs a contract with Reebok, and their NIL is for 2 years for a certain amount of money, and then if they breach that contract, you have different types of remedies that Reebok could come after. It feels like people just aren't. It almost seems like the contracts aren't written in the right way in order to entice. Because again, like similar to you have a contract. If you break that, it's over a certain amount of years. If you break that contract and just say, no, I'm going to go back to on 3 or something like that, you have to pay certain damages, remedies.
Yeah.
It feels like that's the way to do it.
It is.
Handle it through contractual law. That eliminates any need for legislation.
So you're getting into the whole employee thing, though, right? Because you can write contracts a certain way for employees, and you write contracts a certain way for contractors. And, I mean, that's the whole debate about whether they're employees. Do you want them to be employees? Do they want to be employees? If they become employees, what do you do about, benefits? What do you do about?
But you wouldn't even be able to do that for like Joe Schmo's car dealership, where he says you have to show up once a month for 24 months to my car dealership. And I mean, again, this goes into they don't want to do that.
Right.
So you have to do rev share, but you say over 24 months you have to do this, you get payment, and it escalates. And is that not something that the NIL like?
I mean, that is the. But then you get into the stuff from this week where, and I'm about to start lighting matches and burning my hand again. You get into the stuff from this week where they say, well, here's the problem: if the guy that owns that dealership in Fairbanks is a big Alaska State alum, and he's only doing this because it's an Alaska State football player, that technically isn't NIL. It's back to the whole. It's not a true business venture. It's just NIL. It's just pay for play, and they're throwing it out. Like it's really complicated. I don't know. No one really knows where it's going. I'll tell you that.
Right. No, yeah, I guess we'll see also with the executive order. Maybe that'll
I mean, well, Ross Dellinger wrote about that today, and I mean, it's still in the draft process, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, the fact that
the president has a lot bigger problem.
The fact that the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference had no idea what was in the potential executive order tells me that's not very far down the road.
Right.
I mean, that's a hint. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that the president of the United States would issue an executive order with the commissioner of the SEC being completely in the dark. I find that one difficult to believe.
But I definitely agree. So, again, appreciate you taking my call and appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Bye.
All right. Have a good one.
Appreciate the call. I don't know where all the executive order, NIL stuff, NIL Go is going. I don't know. No idea. No, exhausted from it. I feel bad for Ross Dellinger. This is not what he signed up for. Tyler sent me an inappropriate text message. That's what I was laughing at. Tyler Siski. All right, I got time for a call or two. If anybody wants to call, lines are open. Appreciate everybody that's called in tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I never know on these Thursday nights, like, am I going to get 2 calls or is it going to ring off the hook? I still know. Got Charlotte and San Antonio Summer League on. The Hornets lead the Spurs by almost 30 points late in the third quarter. Don't know who played for the Spurs. I will say nobody cares, but I'll say it. I liked what the Hornets did in the draft. I like Con Knipple. I think he's going to be a really good NBA player. Going to check a lot of boxes as, at worst, a long-term rotation piece because he can really shoot it, and he does all of the little things really well. His athleticism is questionable, but he just makes sense as a basketball player. He knows the game really well. See if some other questions in the stream. I haven't been able to keep up with the stream. Grind. Sammy gives you some really good advice here where he says, besides, you need to start watching some English Premier League so you have ammunition to bash the USA national team next summer during the World Cup. That is true. That is very true. The U.S. national team is just it's so frustrating that we're not further along at that level than we should be right now. Learned a little bit about the lower level Spanish professional soccer teams tonight. That's been good. About $30,000 a year, $25,000 a year. I would assume it's more, as someone said in the thread, it's more about just getting your foot in the door, being seen by higher level scouts in Europe, where if you have the talent, maybe someone if you have the talent, someone discovers you, or they think that they can develop you, and you get an opportunity to play at a higher level. As I said at one point to that particular person, because he's great friends with my son, like, you're only young once. Try. If that's an itch you want to scratch it. It's your life. I hate when people tell people that they shouldn't chase their dreams. If that's your dream, is to play professional soccer, and you've got an opportunity, even as remote as that is, why not? You get to be young one time. Don't have regrets. Regrets suck when you get older. Chase your dreams. You want to play, you want to do something, try to do it. Worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out. And then you have the peace of knowing that you tried. And if it doesn't work out, you have a hell of a story to tell your kids one day about playing professional soccer in Spain. I mean, that's a cool story. So I'm cheering for him. I hope it works out. Be fun. What a cool story if he ever got to play at a really high level. All right. I'm probably going to close it up there. Appreciate everybody for being with us tonight. Almost 2.5 hours on the show, 2 hours, 15 minutes or so. I'm going to be solo a lot next week, so I'll do a Thursday night show again next week, and then we'll get closing in on the season. 2 weeks or so till the start of practice. SEC Media Days over today. All the SEC predictions and preseason, all SEC and stuff will come out tomorrow morning from Atlanta, and everybody can debate that and argue about who got respected and disrespected. And just remember that it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to play 12 games. They're going to play the games. What people vote for in July is completely immaterial, really instantly, but it leads to debate and conversation, which is what the league wants, and that's why they do the vote. Again, our thanks to our friends at Comer Heating and Air for making this show possible. Also, big thanks to Art Hayes, Sotheby's International Realty, for sponsoring the mailbag. The other questions that I didn't get to, we kind of talked about the one about the long-term decline of fandom. Tyler and I sort of disagree on it. We'll see what happens. And then we talked about Trump and some of that stuff. Taylor's question, I think we've probably addressed that one as well. So again, thanks to everybody. Thanks to all the people that sponsor this show. We have a lot of content at MPW Digital. We'll be back next week with another full week of shows as well. So until then, take care.